The taste of Leo's lips still burned on mine when he pulled back with that loud, familiar laugh, slapping my shoulder like we'd just pulled the greatest prank of all time. "Come on, Maximus, it was just a joke, man, don't look so serious," he said, his voice light and easy, but those words slammed into me harder than any punch ever could, leaving my chest hollow and my mind spinning in the crowded rooftop bar overlooking Seattle's glittering skyline. I stood there frozen, the city lights blurring through the sudden sting in my eyes, while the party noise swelled around us like nothing had happened. Leo was already turning to grab another beer from the cooler, his broad shoulders relaxed under the flannel shirt we'd bought together last summer, as if confessing his feelings for me one minute and calling it all fake the next was just another Saturday night. I had known Leo since our freshman year at the University of Washington, when we bonded over late-night coding sessions and bad coffee in the dorm lounge. He was the guy who always had my back through my parents' divorce, through my first failed startup, and through every awkward date I dragged him to as my wingman. But tonight at his birthday party, surrounded by our mutual friends and his extended family visiting from Spokane, something shifted. The way he looked at me across the room earlier, the way his hand lingered on my arm when he pulled me aside to the quiet corner, the way his voice dropped when he said, "I've been wanting to tell you this for years, Max, I think I'm in love with you." My heart had raced with a mix of terror and hope, because for the first time in my 28 years those words didn't feel wrong. They felt like the missing piece I'd been ignoring in every relationship with women that never quite fit. Then the joke, the laugh, the slap on the shoulder like I was just another bro in on the gag. I forced a smile, muttered something about needing air, and slipped out to the balcony, where the cool Pacific Northwest mist hit my face like a wake-up call. Below me, the streets of Capitol Hill buzzed with life, couples walking hand in hand under street lamps, cars honking in the distance. I gripped the railing, my knuckles white, wondering if I'd imagined the spark, if my own buried feelings had twisted his words into something they weren't. Was I gay? The question hit me like a freight train. I'd spent years dating women because that's what my conservative family from rural Oregon expected, what society in our tech circles quietly approved. But Leo's confession, even if he called it a joke, cracked open a door I'd nailed shut. By the time I went back inside, the party had thinned out. Leo was laughing with his cousins, pretending nothing had changed, but his eyes flicked to me, once a shadow of uncertainty there, before he looked away. I made excuses and left early, driving my old Subaru through the rain-slicked streets toward my apartment in Ballard. The radio played some indie song about regret, and I turned it off, the silence heavier than the downpour. Sleep didn't come easy that night. I lay staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every late-night talk, every shared secret, wondering if friendship could survive this, or if I'd just lost the one person who truly knew me. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Leo. "Dude, sorry if I weirded you out last night. Family's coming for dinner this weekend at Dad's place. You in?" No pressure. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering. Part of me wanted to say no, to bury the whole thing and go back to normal. But another part, the one that had felt alive for those brief seconds on the rooftop, whispered yes. Maybe facing him again would help me sort the chaos in my head. Maybe meeting his family, the people who'd shaped him into the man I thought I knew, would give me answers. Little did I know that dinner would change everything. Leo's dad, Ethan, lived in a sleek modern house perched on a hill in Queen, and with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Sound. I'd met him a few times over the years at graduations and holidays, a distinguished architect in his early 50s, with salt and pepper hair, sharp blue eyes, and the kind of quiet confidence that came from building skyscrapers across the Pacific Northwest. Traditional to the core, he'd raised Leo alone after his wife passed away, pushing his son toward stability, career success, and the kind of life that fit neatly into family photos. Ethan greeted me at the door with a firm handshake, his smile warm but measured. "Maximus, good to see you again. Leo says you're the reason he survived college." We laughed, the tension in my chest easing just a fraction as we stepped inside, where the smell of grilled salmon and fresh herbs filled the air. The evening unfolded with easy conversation, Leo's cousins teasing him about old stories, his aunts asking about my job at the software firm. But as the night wore on, something shifted when Ethan and I ended up alone on the deck after dinner. The rain had stopped, leaving the city sparkling below. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed me one, and said, "Leo's lucky to have a friend like you, Maximus. Not many people stick around through the hard stuff." His voice carried a weight I hadn't expected, like he was speaking from experience. We talked about architecture. My coding projects the pressure of living up to expectations. For the first time in days, the knot in my stomach loosened. Ethan listened without judgment, his eyes meeting mine with a depth that felt strangely comforting. As the night ended and Leo walked me to my car, he clapped my shoulder again, but this time his touch lingered. "Thanks for coming, man. Dad likes you a lot." I drove home, my mind racing, not with the joke, but with the unexpected connection to the man who had created the friend I thought I knew so well. Little did I realize that pull would lead me down a path of secrets and choices that would test every bond one had. The weeks that followed blurred into a routine that felt both familiar and dangerously new. Leo and I texted like nothing had happened, grabbing beers after work at our usual spot in Fremont, where the conversation stayed light and safe. He never mentioned the rooftop again, and neither did I, but the air between us carried an undercurrent of unspoken questions. At work, my focus slipped during meetings, my mind drifting to that dinner at Ethan's house. The way his stories about designing sustainable buildings in Seattle had sparked something in me, a curiosity about the man behind the fatherly facade. I told myself it was harmless, just admiration for someone who'd built a life on his own terms after loss. But deep down I knew it was more. The joke had unlocked a door, and now every interaction felt like stepping closer to the edge. One Friday evening, Leo called, inviting me to help with a family project at Ethan's place. "Dad's redoing the home office, needs some tech setup. Your expertise, man. Plus free pizza." I hesitated, my pulse quickening at the thought of seeing Ethan again, but agreed. The drive up the hill felt longer than usual, the city lights reflecting off the wet roads like scattered diamonds. When I arrived, Ethan opened the door in a simple button-down shirt, sleeves rolled up, revealing the kind of quiet strength that came from years of sketching blueprints by hand. "Maximus, thanks for coming. Leo's running late from a meeting, but we can get started." We worked side by side in the office, wiring cables, mounting monitors, his calm instructions mixing with easy conversation about everything from local politics to the latest sci-fi novels. As we took a break on the deck overlooking the water, Ethan leaned against the railing, his expression turning thoughtful. Raising Leo alone wasn't easy. Society expects certain things from men like us: strength, stability, the right kind of family. But watching him grow taught me that real strength is in being honest with yourself. His words hung in the cool evening air, hitting closer to home than he could know. I shared a bit about my own parents' expectations, the pressure to marry, settle down, produce grandkids, the way I'd always pushed those feelings down. Ethan listened, nodding, his blue eyes steady and kind, no judgment, just understanding. For the first time since the party, I felt seen, not as the reliable friend or the ambitious engineer, but as someone wrestling with truths he'd hidden too long. Leo arrived eventually, pizza in hand, and the three of us shared dinner, laughing over old stories. But as the evening wound down, I caught Ethan watching me, a small smile playing at his lips like he sensed the shift too. On the drive home, my phone buzzed with a text from him, not Leo. "Thanks again, Maximus. Enjoyed the talk. Let's grab coffee sometime, just us." My hands tightened on the wheel, a mix of excitement and guilt swirling in my chest. Leo was my best friend, the guy who'd been there through everything. What was I doing entertaining thoughts about his father, the man who'd shaped him into the person I cared about so deeply? The coffee meetup happened 2 days later at a quiet cafe in Ballard, away from our usual spots. Ethan arrived in a leather jacket, looking younger than his years, his presence commanding yet gentle. We talked for hours about life, dreams, regrets, the way society still whispered judgments about men who loved differently. He shared how he'd buried his own feelings after his wife died, focusing on Leo to avoid the pain of facing truth. "I thought I was protecting him," he said, his voice low, "but maybe I was just afraid." His honesty cracked something open in me, and before I knew it, I was telling him about the rooftop, the joke, the way it forced me to question everything. He reached across the table, his hand briefly covering mine, a gesture of support that sent warmth spreading through me. That night alone in my apartment, I couldn't stop thinking about him, the way his eyes held mine, the quiet strength that made me feel safe to explore the parts of myself I'd denied. Leo texted asking if everything was okay at work, and I replied with a casual yes, but the lie tasted bitter. Friendship, loyalty, family expectations all tangled in my mind like the rain-soaked streets outside. The pull toward Ethan grew stronger each day, a forbidden connection that promised understanding, but threatened to shatter the world I'd known. I didn't know then how quickly it would escalate or the misunderstandings that would follow when secrets started to surface. The first time Ethan and I kissed had happened in the shadow of the Space Needle during a late-night walk after another coffee that turned into dinner. The city hummed around us, tourists laughing, vendors closing up, but in that moment the world narrowed to just us. He'd been talking about a project he'd designed years ago, his voice passionate and alive. When he stopped, turned to me, and said, "Maximus, you've made me feel seen again." The words hung between us, heavy with possibility. I didn't pull away when he leaned in. The kiss was soft, tentative, full of the years of hidden longing we'd both carried. No fireworks, no dramatic music, just a quiet rightness that settled in my chest like coming home. We pulled back, both breathing hard, his forehead resting against mine. "This changes everything," he whispered, and I knew he was right. Guilt hit me hard the next morning when Leo called to invite me to a Mariners game, the three of us together like old times. I sat in the stands between them, cheering for the home team, while inside my thoughts raced. Leo joked and clapped my shoulder, the same easy camaraderie we'd always shared, but now every laugh felt layered with the secret I was keeping. Ethan sat on my other side, his knee occasionally brushing mine, a silent reassurance that sent sparks through me. How could something so genuine feel like such a betrayal? Leo had called my confession a joke, but this was real, and it involved the man who'd raised him, the one who'd sacrificed everything to give Leo the stable life he deserved. Work became my escape, but even there the lines blurred. As a software engineer, I threw myself into coding deadlines, pushing code late into the night to avoid the quiet moments where doubt crept in. Leo noticed something off during our weekly lunches. "You seem distracted, man. Everything cool with the family stuff?" His concern was genuine, the friendship we'd built over years shining through, but I brushed it off with a laugh, hiding the truth that was eating me alive. Meanwhile, Ethan and I stole moments whenever we could, quiet dinners at his house, walks along the waterfront where we'd talk about the future, the possibility of coming out together. He shared stories of his own suppressed identity, the traditional expectations from his parents that kept him in the closet for decades. "I don't want that for you, Maximus," he said one evening, his hand in mine. "Or for Leo. But I can't deny this anymore." The misunderstanding started small. Leo mentioned in passing that his dad seemed happier lately, more engaged. "Must be that new project he's on," he said over beers, but his eyes searched mine like he sensed more. I changed the subject quickly, my heart pounding. Then came the text from Ethan one evening while I was with Leo at a bar. "Can't stop thinking about you. Dinner tomorrow." I glanced at my phone too late, Leo's gaze flicking over. "Who's that?" he asked casually, but something in his tone shifted. I lied, saying it was work, but the seed of doubt was planted. Leo started pulling back, canceling plans, making excuses that felt forced. The friendship that had been my anchor began to fray, and I wondered if the joke on the rooftop had been his way of testing waters too. Family pressure mounted when Ethan's sister visited from Portland for the weekend. She was the traditional type, the one who organized holidays and pushed for grandkids. Over dinner, she grilled us all about our lives, her eyes narrowing when Ethan mentioned how much time we'd been spending together. "Maximus is like family," Ethan said smoothly, but the air grew thick with unspoken questions. I excused myself to the bathroom, my reflection in the mirror showing the strain, the bags under my eyes from sleepless nights. Was this worth it? The love growing between Ethan and me felt real, deeper than anything I'd known, but the cost was rising with every avoided glance from Leo, every awkward family moment. That night after the guests left, Ethan pulled me close on the couch, his arms strong around me. "We'll figure this out," he promised, but his voice carried the same uncertainty I felt. The kiss that followed was filled with urgency, a silent promise amid the storm brewing. As I drove home, the rain started again, mirroring the turmoil inside. Leo's text came through then, "We need to talk, Max. Something's off, and I think I know why." The words chilled me. The secret was cracking open, and with it the possibility of losing everything: the friendship, the family, the man who'd shown me who I really was. The journey toward acceptance had just begun, but the path ahead was lined with betrayals I never saw coming. Leo's confrontation happened in my apartment the following evening, the air thick with the scent of takeout we'd barely touched. He stood by the window, staring out at the dark sound, his hands clenched at his sides. "It's my dad, isn't it?" he said, his voice low and edged with pain. "The text, the way you've been acting. Tell me I'm wrong, Maximus." I couldn't lie anymore not to him. The words spilled out, the rooftop confession, the joke, the way it unlocked feelings. I'd buried the connection with Ethan that grew from friendship to something undeniable. Leo listened, his face paling, then flushing with anger. You dated the man who raised me? The one who created this life for me after Mom died. And you call that love? His words cut deep, hitting the core of the guilt I'd been carrying. He paced the room, his voice rising with each step, recounting every family dinner, every holiday, where I'd been welcomed like a son. I called it a joke because I was scared too, Max. Scared of what it meant for us, for my family. But this is betrayal. The misunderstanding twisted everything. Leo believed I'd used our friendship to get close to Ethan, that the feelings were never real, just a way to fill some void. I tried to explain the hours of talks, the shared vulnerabilities, the way Ethan made me feel accepted for the first time, but Leo shook his head, tears in his eyes. Stay away from him. Stay away from both of us. He left, slamming the door, the sound echoing like a final judgment. The days that followed were a blur of isolation. Leo blocked my calls, ignored texts at work, our mutual friends sensed the rift, asking questions I couldn't answer. Ethan reached out, his messages full of concern, but I pulled back, the sacrifice feeling necessary to mend what I'd broken. Give him time, Ethan said during a stolen call, his voice steady but strained. He's my son. I never wanted to hurt him either. We met once in secret at a park near the university, the leaves turning gold around us. His hand found mine under the bench, the touch grounding me amid the chaos. I came out to myself years ago, but never to him, he confessed. This forced my hand, Maximus. But I don't regret us. His words gave me strength even as the societal pressure mounted, whispers at work about my sudden distance from Leo, questions from my own family about why I wasn't dating anyone. The betrayal deepened when Leo's aunt called me out of the blue, her voice sharp with accusation. What have you done to my nephew? Ethan's acting strange, Leo's a mess. If this is some phase or game, you need to end it. The conversation left me shaken, the traditional expectations of their family clashing hard against the truth we were living. I sacrificed more than time. I gave up the easy laughter, the shared history with Leo, choosing instead quiet evenings with Ethan where we built something real, conversations about future plans, small gestures like cooking together or watching old movies. But every moment carried the weight of consequence, the psychological toll showing in sleepless nights and moments of doubt where I questioned if love could survive such rifts. A major turning point came at Ethan's house during a surprise visit from Leo. He burst in, finding us in the kitchen, Ethan laughing at one of my bad jokes, his hand resting lightly on my shoulder. The silence that followed was deafening. Leo's face crumpled, then hardened. So it's true. You chose this over me, Dad. The confrontation escalated, voices rising, accusations flying about loyalty, sacrifice, the price of secrets. Ethan stood his ground for the first time in years, his voice firm. I spent decades hiding who I am for you, son. Maximus showed me it's time to stop. Leo stormed out, but not before looking at me with a mix of hurt and something like understanding. The air after he left felt charged with possibility, the first crack in the wall of misunderstanding. That night, Ethan and I talked until dawn, his arms around me as rain pattered against the windows. He's angry, but he's strong like his mother, he said. We'll face this together. The decision to stand firm marked my growth, the actions proving that facing truth, no matter the consequence, was the only path forward. Yet the road to acceptance was far from over, the societal judgments and family rifts still looming like storm clouds over the city. The weeks after the confrontation stretched into a tense standoff, Leo refusing to speak to either of us, while Ethan threw himself into his work designing a new community center downtown. I threw myself into supporting him, attending meetings with him, quietly holding his hand during late nights when doubt crept in. The psychological weight pressed heavy, the fear of losing Leo forever mixing with the joy of building something authentic with Ethan. Friends noticed the change, some pulling away, others offering cautious support, but the societal pressure in our circles, where tech bros and family values still dominated, made every outing feel like walking a tightrope. A misunderstanding nearly broke us when Leo posted on social media a vague status about betrayal and family secrets that our mutual circle interpreted as work drama. Comments flooded in, some siding with him, others questioning. I confronted him via email, pouring out the truth the way the joke had started everything, the real feelings. I discovered the love that had grown without intending harm. His reply came days later, short and raw. I need time, Max. This isn't just about you and Dad, it's about me too, figuring out why I pushed you away with that stupid joke. The words offered a glimmer of hope, the first sign that the rift could heal. Ethan decided to take a bold step, inviting the whole family to a weekend at a cabin in the Cascades, hoping for neutral ground. The drive up with him was peaceful, the mountains rising around us, his hand on my knee, a silent promise. Whatever happens, we face it together, he said, his voice steady. At the cabin, the tension was immediate. Leo arriving alone, his eyes avoiding ours, while aunts and cousins filled the space with forced cheer. Dinner brought everything to a head, Ethan standing at the head of the table, his voice calm but powerful as he came out fully to everyone. I've hidden this part of myself for too long. Maximus helped me see that love isn't something to fear. Gasps rippled through the room, Leo's face a storm of emotions, but he didn't leave. The arguments lasted late into the night, accusations of deception, sacrifices demanded, but beneath it all, the human core emerged, stories of pain and resilience. Leo finally spoke, his voice cracking. I called it a joke because I was scared of losing you two, Dad. Scared of what it meant for all of us. The turning point hit when he looked at me across the table, the anger softening into reluctant acceptance. You both risked everything. Maybe that's what real love looks like. The sacrifice I'd offered earlier, stepping back to preserve family bonds, came full circle as Leo extended a tentative olive branch, a hug that felt like rebuilding. Back in Seattle, the days lightened, Ethan and I walking openly hand in hand along the waterfront, the city embracing us in its progressive heart. Leo joined us for coffee one afternoon, the conversation awkward at first, but growing easier as we shared laughs over old memories. The growth was evident in small decisions, my choice to be honest with my own family, even when they struggled, my commitment to therapy to process the psychological scars. Societal pressures lingered in sideways glances at work or family gatherings, but each one we faced together strengthened the bonds. The major climax came at a company event where Leo publicly introduced us as family, no hesitation in his voice. The applause from friends marked the shift, the emotional high of acceptance washing over us like the Seattle rain finally clearing to sunshine. Yet the journey wasn't without lingering consequences, the rifts mended, but scars remaining, reminders of the price paid. Ethan and I built a life together, small moments of happiness that felt earned, Leo slowly integrating back into the fold, his friendship evolving into something deeper, stronger. The actions we'd taken, the decisions to face truth over comfort, proved our maturity, the psychological consequences transforming pain into purpose. As summer turned to fall, the city bustling around us, I stood on the same rooftop where it all began, looking out at the lights with Ethan beside me, Leo joining us with a beer in hand. The understanding we'd fought for felt real, the love worth every challenge. The leaves in Volunteer Park turned brilliant shades of red and gold as fall settled over Seattle, the three of us meeting there for a casual hike, the kind we'd done years ago before secrets and jokes complicated everything. Leo walked ahead, pointing out trails, his laughter echoing through the trees, while Ethan and I followed hand in hand, the easy rhythm of our steps speaking volumes about the road we'd traveled. The air smelled of pine and damp earth, a reminder of the Pacific Northwest's quiet resilience mirroring our own. Conversations flowed naturally now, no more guarded silences or avoided topics. Leo shared updates from his marketing job, the new projects, keeping him busy while gently teasing us about being the power couple in the family. The bond we'd rebuilt felt authentic, forged in the fire of misunderstandings and betrayals, but stronger for it. Ethan squeezed my hand as we paused at a viewpoint, the city sprawling below us, the Space Needle piercing the hazy sky. I never imagined this, he said softly, his eyes reflecting the same peace I'd come to cherish. Hiding who I was for so long, then finding you, Maximus, it changed everything for the better. His words carried the weight of growth, the sacrifices we'd all made, Leo stepping back to process his own identity, Ethan coming out publicly at family gatherings, and me learning to embrace the man I'd become. The societal pressures that once loomed large felt smaller now, friends who distanced themselves replaced by new ones who celebrated us, colleagues offering support instead of whispers. The family expectations that had once threatened to tear us apart evolved into quiet acceptance. Leo's aunts sending holiday cards addressed to all three of us. As the sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow over the park, we sat on a bench. Leo, pulling out his phone to show photos from our first college trip, the memories bridging the past and present. "I owe you an apology, Max," he said, turning to me, his voice sincere. "That joke on the rooftop, it was my fear talking. I pushed you away because I wasn't ready to face my own questions. Seeing you and Dad together showed me what courage looks like." His honesty, the final piece in our healing, brought tears to my eyes. The friendship not just restored, but deepened into a brotherhood that included acceptance of all our truths. We hugged there on the bench, the three of us, a family redefined by choice and love rather than blood alone. The hike ended back at Ethan's house, where we cooked dinner together, the kitchen filled with laughter and the clatter of pots, the ordinary moments now extraordinary in their simplicity. As we sat around the table, plates steaming with pasta and wine glasses raised, Leo looked at us, both his expression thoughtful. "You two gave up a lot for this. But watching you, I see it's possible to have it all without losing who we are." The conversation turned to future plans, vacations together, family traditions updated to include everyone. The hope in our voices, a testament to the emotional journey we'd completed. The psychological consequences of those early days, the doubt, the guilt, the fear, had transformed into strength. Each decision we'd made leading to this place of genuine connection. Later that night, as Ethan and I stood on the deck, the city lights twinkling below, I reflected on the path from that shocking rooftop moment to here. The betrayal, the secrets, the sacrifices had all been necessary steps toward the acceptance we'd earned. Leo had become not just a friend, but a true ally, his presence enriching our lives in ways we never anticipated. The love between Ethan and me, the man who'd shaped Leo into the incredible person he was, had proven that real bonds could withstand any storm. As the stars emerged overhead, I felt a profound gratitude for the growth, the courage it took to face myself and the world. But as I stood there looking at the life I'd built, one question lingered. True or false? Does pursuing authentic love always justify the pain it causes to those we care about most?